In this video, we will be learning about VPC peering, how to peer the VPC, how to set up the VPC peering, VPC and its component, and also we will test, like we will try to ping one EC2 from another to check if my VPC has really been peered. Okay, so let's begin. And for this work, we will be using the Whizlabs AWS sandbox environment. I'll go ahead and select 1 hour and click on create sandbox environment. Just acknowledge this and click on start sandbox. It will take 5 to 10 seconds for the environment to start. So just wait for it to be ready. Okay, the environment has started and I can just simply click on open console. As soon as you click on open console, you will get a Whizlabs AWS account. Click on the username and you will get the IAM username and then choose the password, paste it. Once you enter the password, you will be able to access the Whizlabs AWS account for the duration that you have selected. So let's begin with VPC because we have the access. You no need to worry about the access related part. Let's get started with the VPC. Click on VPC on the left side, your VPCs, and then click on create VPC. As you see here in the VPC settings, there are two options. One is VPC only, and then comes the VPC and more. Okay, so just in case you are trying to set up everything from scratch, okay, you can go ahead and choose this option because this option will give you few of the things ready-made. You don't have to create the subnets manually, route table manually, the network connections and all. Okay, so you will be given the options. But for this demonstration purpose, I will go ahead and click on VPC only options. Okay, so let's go with the VPC tag. I will call this as a VPC1 because we will be creating the VPC2 in the later part. And I will use the CIDR which is mentioned. Okay, so 10.0.0/24. Okay, no IPv6 is needed for this part, and tenancy of this VPC will be default. So let's create the VPC. VPC is now created. The next part is to create the subnet. And this subnet will be the public subnet. Reason being, we need the SSH to happen. Okay, the SSH will be happening from a public subnet EC2 instance. Okay, so this EC2 instance that I will be creating in the subsequent steps will also be public. So let's create this subnet and we'll select the VPC1 which we created just now, and I will call this as VPC1 subnet. Okay, or you can say public subnet like that. Okay, VPC1 public subnet, and AZ you can select any, doesn't matter much, and let this be same IPv6, IPv4, VPC CIDR, and then just enter this one. So this one you can enter I think up to 26 because we just have one subnet that needs to be created and it has 64 IP addresses. So this is perfect. Let's create this. So subnet creation is done, and next part is to create the route table. Although I can use the main one, the default one, but I'm gonna create a new one. So let's call it as public route table, RT in short, and then VPC1 select and click on create this route table. After you create this, you need to assign your subnet. So I'll go ahead and move this subnet into this route table. And the next part is, as you know, the route table work is to create the routes. Okay, so for the internet, I need the internet gateway first. So let's create an internet gateway. Let's call it as VPC1 IGW. Okay, IGW is a short form of internet gateway, and this is created. And next part is to attach this to a VPC. So I'll go ahead and choose my VPC1 and attach it. After you have attached it, go to route table, select your public route table of your VPC, okay, VPC1, and after that click on add routes, edit routes. So just add the routes of your public and select the internet gateway, choose the one that is appearing and click on save changes. Okay, so till now we have done all the configurations that are required. Now let's go ahead and play with the security group. So this security group will be used when we are launching the EC2 instance. So I'm gonna call this as SG for VPC1, okay, and allow SSH and ICMP. ICMP is required for ping purpose. Okay, so let's call it as for VPC1, and the traffic will be not all traffic. We will go with SSH and then ICMP, ICMP VPC4, IPv4. Okay, so it will allow everything, but we will come ahead and modify this one to only allow from the VPC of the second VPC that we will create. Okay. So we have created the security group. We will assign this security group to our EC2 instance. So let's go to EC2 and create the EC2 machine. I'm onto the EC2 console. Just click on instances and click on launch instance. So you can call this as instance 1, VPC1. Okay, and choose the default Amazon Linux AMI. No need to change anything here. Let it be t2.micro, because as part of your Whizlabs sandbox environment, you are allowed for t2.micro instances and also t3.micro, but we can go ahead and do the t2.micro. If you are trying to perform into an region which is not allowing you to have t2.micro, you can go ahead and have a t3.micro. Okay, for this key pair, I'll just gonna call this as Wiz key pair. Okay, you can call it anything, and make sure to save it on the desktop. Now a key pair is required when you are trying to do the SSH part. So although we will go ahead and try the EC2 instance connect, but in case if it doesn't work, we will go ahead and do the SSH from the machine. So we're going to select the security group which we have. Okay, but if you see here, this is the default VPC. I'm going to change this to VPC1, and I'll have the VPC public subnet for this selected. I'll go ahead and enable this and select the existing security group. Okay. One of the things that I have missed into the VPC is to enable the public uh, IPv4 subnetting for the subnet. So let's go ahead and modify this setting too. Click on action and click on edit subnet settings. And after that, enable auto assign of public IPv4 addresses. Okay, this is required. So once you do that, you no need to change anything here. Just go ahead and launch. Okay, so this is getting launched, and my first part is created, where I have one VPC, public VPC, having the public subnet, launching the public EC2 instance, and everything is fairly done. Okay, the next part is to go ahead and do the second part of this demo, which is to create another VPC, and after that we will try to peer that VPC with VPC. Okay, with VPC1. So let's call it as VPC2, and for this I'll go ahead and choose the 192 CIDR 192.168.0.0/24. Okay, so this is my VPC2. Make sure that when we are trying to do the VPC peering, you have a unique IPv4 addresses. Okay, it should not overlap, otherwise you will not be allowed for the VPC peering. Okay, so I have VPC2. I need to create a subnet, and this time the subnet will be private. So no need to do the IPv4 association. Just select the VPC2 and let's call it as private subnet. And yeah, no problem with the zone. You can select any, and I'll just choose the 192.168.0.0/26. Okay, so 64 IPs again. Although it is not required, I can go ahead with 27 also. But as a best practice, always select a little bigger IP addresses block. Okay, so create subnet. Now I can go ahead and create the route table for this, and gonna call this as private RT for my VPC2. Okay, again, next part is to associate the subnet. your private subnet will be associated with this route table. And as you know, we don't need internet, so no need to modify in the routes. Okay. The next part is security group. So in the security group, we need to have, let me check the naming convention. So this is SG VPC2. I'm gonna call this as SG uh, VPC2. Okay. Yeah. So it will also be for allow SSH and ICMP traffic. Okay. The inbound rule will also be pretty much similar. Like I will be allowed for SSH and I will be allowed for ICMP traffic. I'm gonna choose this default one, but you can go ahead and restrict it to your CIDR of the VPC. This is an optional step. Since I'm trying to do it little broader level, I'm keeping it public. Okay, my security group is created, and next part is to launch the EC2 instance in this VPC. So let's create this EC2, and we will call it as instance 2 of my VPC2, and pretty much default and similar setting. I can go ahead and choose the same key pair, not an issue. And here we need to modify the network. So VPC2 private subnet, no need to assign the public IP. And for the security group, I will go ahead and select the, oh, okay, I think I have done a mistake. Yes, okay. So I created this security group into the default VPC. I didn't change the VPC. So let me call this as SG VPC2, allow SSH and ICMP, okay, and change it to VPC2. Then only the new security group will be visible to your instances settings. Okay, so let's call it this from internet, no problem, and let's create an ICMP traffic from the internet. Okay, so this is created, and if I refresh now, I should be able to see these settings. Okay, security group, let's refresh, and my VPC SG2 is now present. SG for VPC2 is now present. Okay, no need to change anything and launch this instance. Now we are almost done. The only part we need to do is to perform the VPC peering. So for that, you need to create a peering connection. So let's see where is the peering connection. Yeah, there you go. And create the VPC peering, and let's call it as peering connection, and requester will be VPC2. In my account in this region, I have VPC2. Okay, VPC1 will be requester and VPC2 will be acceptor. So let's create this, and after you create, as you see here, the status of this is pending acceptance by the account number. So you can go ahead and click on accept request. So after you have accepted the request, there are two more settings that you can need to do. First is to go ahead and modify the route tables. Okay, so let's see how we can do that. Cool. Let's go to the route table and let's note the CIDR. So here in my VPC1, I need to allow VPC2, and in my VPC2 route table, I need to allow VPC1. So I'll copy the CIDR of VPC2 and allow in the public route table. Okay, so this is my public route table of my VPC1. Okay, you can see VPC1. Let's go ahead and edit the routes. Okay, I'm gonna put it over the internet with my peering connection as PCX and peering. Oh, okay, my bad. This will be the CIDR of your VPC2 from the peering connection. Okay, so this is completed. Let's go to private route table of my VPC2. So I have VPC2 and this is my private route table. Let's go ahead and enter the CIDR of my first one. So this will be CIDR of 10.0.0/10 1/0/24, okay, through the peering connection. So peering, and click on save changes. Okay, so peering is done. Next is to modify the security groups. Okay, so in the security group settings, I just need to modify one security group. Okay, I think I have one wrong security group here, so need to be very much careful. By mistakenly I created in the default VPC. So let me see the VPC ID. Okay, so VPC ID ending with 180 is something that I have created wrong security group, so you need to ignore that. And there you go, 180 is this one. So just ignore this VPC security group. Okay, so in security group of VPC1, I think I need to add the routes, inbound routes. Okay, and we will add it from SSH, anywhere IPv4, followed by ICMP IPv4 from our VPC of this one. So I'll go ahead and put this. Okay, so ICMP is now allowed, and you can go ahead and modify other settings, but it is not required. So let's see this instance settings. I need to go ahead and try the SSH through instance connect. Let's see if it works. Okay, so I'm trying to create this and click on connect. And if you are able to do SSH, well and go. Otherwise, you can use the local SSH using your terminal to perform the SSH part. Okay, so I'm able to do that. Let me verify this, maybe by running some command. So for example, who is, okay, wrong command. So for example, you can just go ahead and ping the private IP address of your instance too, and let's see if it is able to give you the address. Okay, so I'm trying to ping, and as you can see here, I'm able to access the instance. Okay, so in this section, we have learned that after you create your VPC1 and VPC2, you will be able to access the VPC1 from VPC2. Okay, although this is a private IP address, but since I have modified my routes in such a way that all the settings are done. So to conclude, let's understand and walk through the resources once again in case you have any doubt. So we created VPC, two VPCs, VPC1 and VPC2, and inside that we created two individual subnets for each of the VPC. So we have VPC1 public subnet, and then we have private subnet of VPC2. So let me just rename this for better modification. Okay, so private subnet. Okay, VPC1 public subnet, VPC2 private subnet. Now for the route table settings, I have public route table and private route tables present. Internet gateway is present for the first VPC1 route table, and then I did a peering connection between them. Okay, so you can see here requester and acceptor VPC. You have VPC ID present. As I have said, make sure that you don't have an overlapping CIDR. Okay, otherwise you will not be able to access them. And then you need to go ahead and create the security group. And as you see here in my security group 1, I have internet from SSH. Okay, although if you are trying to do from your local machine, then it is required. Maybe you can go ahead and just put your public IP address of the machine. Okay, internet also is kind of not recommended, but since I'm just trying to do this demo, did that. And then you can go ahead and choose the ICMP from IPv4, and this is the IP address VPC CIDR of my VPC2. Okay, then I'm gone ahead and created this VPCs, these instances for both the VPCs. Okay, while creating the instance, make sure to choose the security group very carefully, and also make sure to change the network, like the VPC settings. Okay, and then you should be fine and able to do this demo. Okay, if you have any question, you can reach out to the support. Thank you so much.
Whizlabs, success certified.